Well, this video is about western whitetails and my fascination with hunting western whitetails, but talking to you about a few complications that you just have to accept, and they revolve around the public-private boundary and the fact that most western whitetails spend the majority of their time on private land. And there are little pockets of public land that maybe hold whitetails, and the idea is, how do you identify those? Where do you see them on your map? And how do you hunt these places? Well, let's talk about the public-private part of it to start with. First of all, you never hunt private land without permission, okay? Don't even go there, don't trespass, don't think about it. You have to stay on the public. And that is not necessarily the prime whitetail habitat. So, once you realize that most of the ground is off limits to those of us who hunt public, you now have a much narrower slice that you're going to work with. But you got some things that work to your favor. A lot of the really, what I'll call crappy productivity ground in the West was never claimed by homesteaders because it was not good enough for crops, and it wasn't really good for grazing. So you have a lot of smaller parcels that are, like this stuff here. It's not really good for anything other than whitetails. But there's not much of it. So here's what you have to do. You have to take advantage of the habits of whitetails and the landscape you're working with, and how do those habits get applied on that landscape. And here's how it works with western whitetails. They have primarily agriculture areas that they are feeding in. And then they have places somewhat further away that are their bedding cover. You need to identify where those places are and put yourself between those corridors on the little parcels of public land that they're going to use to get from point A to point B and reverse from point B to point A. They're going to do that almost on a morning basis and an afternoon, evening basis. And in the rut of November, they might do it all day long. So, when you're looking at your map, you have to find as many little parcels of BLM and public land as possible, because there might be someone else in here, and if you only have one spot, your spot's taken. So I usually show up for a hunt like this, I have at least a dozen of them. And maybe I show up and this spot just doesn't have any deer sign. Well, I better have some more. So when you look at my map, I am looking for where is the heavy agriculture ground that's going to attract a lot of deer, because the deer are going to come out of these upland areas in the evening, and they're going to concentrate, they're going to feed down there. I can tell what those are by looking at aerial maps. I'll see pivots, right? Big green circles. I might see a bend in a river that is all green. Oh, that's ag. That's whitetail ground. Now, I'm not going to hunt that because I don't have permission. It's all private. But if I start building a circle away from there, where are the creek bottoms? Where are the upland areas where they're going to go bed? And where are the little pieces of public that I'm able to access legally from a highway, a county road, and go there and put myself in some place where a traveling whitetail, either because they're coming and going from food to bed or bed to food, or in November when it's the rut, those bucks are moving all day long, looking for does, running their scrape lines, and that is my opportunity to take advantage of them. Hopefully you can find some of these parcels that are big enough to hunt, and they're big enough to hunt without running the risk of a hit animal going over to private, because that's just a headache you don't want to deal with. So find these parcels that you can get into the middle of, someplace where the wind's going to be in your favor. Have a whole bunch of them. Don't have just one or two, because I can guarantee you, if you show up with just one or two spots, you're probably not going to have much in the way of opportunities to make it work. Know how to read a map, be really good navigating with that map, and stick to your plan. And the odds are, if you have the right mindset, if you don't let yourself be frustrated by all those deer you see on private that you can't get to, you have the right mindset, you're going to have a successful hunt, and you're going to have a ton of fun. Western whitetails, very overlooked, but still doable.